So if you're like me, you want to know how things are going, how things are working. If you're working on something new, you want to know, is it working? Is it doing what I think it's supposed to be doing? And so tonight's episode is about something truly transformative: metabolic flexibility. If you've been working on fasting, adjusting your diet, or aiming to reverse diabetes, understanding and developing metabolic flexibility is a game changer. But how do you know if you are becoming more metabolically flexible? And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. We'll first talk about what metabolic flexibility is. What does it really mean? It's your body's ability to efficiently switch between burning carbohydrates and fats as fuel, depending on what's available. Think of it as, training your body to become more adaptable when it uses the efficiency or using the fuel that it has available to it. This is without insulin spikes. It was without blood sugar spikes. This adaptability is essential for long-term health, and it's especially valuable for those who want to focus on reversing diabetes. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level in this year, new you. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes, who want to put their diabetes in remission, get off of diabetes medication. That's what we're doing right here. If you're new, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music and let you know that we're happy that you are in the space. If you do have questions, go ahead and put a Q in front of the question with that question, and we'll be happy to answer those as we get throughout the show. That's right. That's right. If you are with us, we've been fasting. I am now 49, almost 50 hours into the fast for this week and heading to 72 hours for this week, as you know how we do. If you've been following us also, you know that I've got some things here we're going to look at in just a minute. I thought we were, but we are going to look at it in just a minute. I've got my monitors. I've got my reports that we're going to take a look at so you can see what my blood sugars are. Okay, there we go. We're going to take a look and see what my blood sugars are so you can see what's been happening over the last several days. And here we are. Yeah, there we go. There it is. Boom. Okay. And so here I've got my monitors, right? I've got my Keto Mojo. I've got my contour meter. And then right down below, that is my Dexcom Clarity report that we'll take a look at here in just a minute. Before we go on, I want to remind you, if you've not already done so, make sure you get over to our channel and you want to watch. Well, that's not what I intended for you to see right there. Let me pull that up so we get a better view of. Here we are. There we go. There we go. So that you get over to the channel, and we've been working on the COPE model, C-O-P-E, clarify, observe, pause, process, pick, and execute. This is a model that we have taught, that we've been using on how do we interrupt the amygdala, which is that part of our brain that's kind of that automatic part that is based on survival. So you see a tiger and you want to run, right? That's the amygdala job. But the prefrontal cortex, the thinking part, says, hey, wait a minute, that tiger is in a zoo, so we don't have to run. And so often, because we get into situations where the amygdala takes off, it hijacks the process, and we never get that thinking part, so we end up eating, we end up buffering, we end up with behaviors that we don't want to do that sets us up in our metabolic space for difficulty. So make sure that you get over and watch that. We've done that over the last several weeks. We've got a playlist on the YouTube channel that talks about managing emotional eating, right? So make sure that you do that. So also want to welcome all of you who are out there from whatever platform you may find yourself right now, whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitch, Facebook, of course, here on here on YouTube. Glad that you're here. I do see Jennifer out there. Hey, Jennifer. Jennifer saying howdy. Glad that you're here to join us. And whichever platform you're on, thank you for being here in this space. As I always do when we are doing our fast, we're going to do a check-in. But let me kind of give you a little bit of backdrop. We are working on reversing diabetes. And in that process, we've been on a path, right? There's a path that you will follow. All of those videos are on the channel as well. Some of the tools that we're learning are tools that we are implementing here in this space. I shouldn't say some of the tools. The tools that we're learning, we're implementing here in the space. And one of the most powerful tools that we've learned is this idea of fasting. And so on a weekly basis, we come on. I've been doing a 72-hour fast. Many people are doing 24-hour fast, 26-hour fast. Jennifer, remind me how many hours you were in. I think last night you were at 26, I believe. And so we've been using fasting as one of the tools to help us reverse diabetes. And the reason fasting is so fascinating is because it hits all of the pillars of reversing diabetes: decreasing insulin, suppressing the appetite, and reducing sugar. All of those are hit by fasting, and we love fasting for its ability to do that for us. And so in the process of the New Year, New You pathway, New Year, New You path, we've been using fasting, and so these check-ins are a way to say, how do we fast successfully? What are things that we need to know? What are some tools that we need to adopt so that we can be successful in utilizing this particular tool in this space? And as we fast, right, in order to be successful, we do a check-in. And the check-in really is just looking to see how things are going. How am I feeling? How am I thinking? What's going on in my body? And those are the three areas that we look at when we talk about our check-in. How are we doing physically? How are we doing mentally? And how are we doing emotionally? Physically, mentally, and emotionally. So let's hop into it. So physically, I am feeling rested. I'm feeling energized. This week I've done a good job. I was going to say excellent, but I've done a good job of maintaining my energy, maintaining rest, right? So I came back from a trip last week and have been resting over the last several nights since I got back. And, well, actually, not last week, I got back on Sunday, and I've been doing a good job of resting. And so I'm excited about that. So my energy, I don't feel like there's a dip in my energy. I don't feel like I'm walking through quicksand. Sometimes people will say that. They feel like they're drained. None of that for this week. That's physically. Also, sometimes people will feel lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty, feel as though, that they are drained, that they can't get through, that they hit a wall. And those are all sometimes things that show up if you're not rested. And also, if you're diabetic and you're on medication, sometimes that medication can have effects on your body as well. Because remember, the point of diabetes medication is to continue to lower blood sugar. So even when your blood sugar is normal or on the low side, the medication is continuing to do that. And so that can show up as fatigue, feeling like you're drained, and so forth. Okay? So physically, that's how I'm feeling. Mentally, and this also goes along with the physical, because if you're tired, if you're drained, then you feel sluggish. You feel as though you're in a bubble and things are not clear. Right now, I'm feeling actually pretty good because of my rest, because I've been hydrating, because the other thing is I had a community meetup tonight with some of our community members. So that was amazing. That was exciting to me to have that conversation. So I had a good time there. So mentally, I'm feeling focused. Okay, I'm not feeling dull. I'm not feeling sluggish. And then, of course, emotionally, whenever I am in this space, whenever I have a community meetup, whenever I interact with patients, clients, I get a buzz. I get excited. I get energy from them. I get energy from you, even now as I'm talking. I've had people say to me, is there anybody in the room with you? And I said, no, it's just me. It's just me and the camera. And they said, you sound like you're talking to people. And I said, yeah, I am. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to the community members. I'm talking to whoever may be watching this on the replay. So because that is, I think, I should say, I think one of my callings, one of the things that I'm meant to do is I am meant to be in this space. I am meant to educate. Meant to empower. I'm meant to encourage. And so I really get excited to be in this space when I hear people's questions, when I see them getting benefit, when I see them, when they see the light go on. Excited. Even if there's someone right here not listening right now, I'm imagining them, right? So that visualization, I'm imagining them watching this and getting benefit. And so that is a big deal for me. And so emotionally, whenever I come on, I'm feeling excited. Sometimes when I'm tired, it is it translates into everything. That's why it's so important to make sure that you are getting good rest as you move through this space. Okay. All right. So now let's take a look. Let's go over and let's take a look at blood sugars. And we'll see what those are. First, I want to bring up my Libre and my Dexcom. So let me go ahead and pull those up right now. Let's see, where is it? There we go. Okay, I gotta close some other things on my phone. All right, so here is this is my Libre 3, and it says my blood sugar right now is 78. And once again, we're almost 50 hours into our fast for this week. You'll see the gray part in the kind of the lower part of the screen with the squiggly white line. So that range is anywhere from 70, the bottom of the dashed line, to the top of that gray part, green part is 150. And you see my blood sugars today have been a little bit above 100, and then for most of the day straddling 100 or lower, right? 100 or lower. If I take a look at my Dexcom, this is a G7, you'll see a similar thing. This one, of course, I could put my finger there and we can see what the actual numbers are. So you'll see about 12 hours ago, my blood sugars have been in the low 100s, and then continued to fall. And then let's see, what was the first time we went below 100? Right there at maybe 440, 430, 437 this evening. And then, of course, has been kind of maintaining that throughout the course of this evening. All right. Now let's take a look at these guys over here. So I've got my Keto Mojo and I've got my Contour. And Keto Mojo gives me glucose and ketones. This guy gives me just blood sugar. So let's go ahead and grab a strip and get that into the Contour. And before I get there, let me go ahead and open up. So this brown one is the Keto Mojo blood glucose strip. And while I do that, I'm going to go ahead and open up the ketones as well, because I don't like to stick myself twice. And sometimes when I don't open it right away, my drop of blood dries, and then I've got to go stick myself again. And so here I'm going to grab, let's see, am I out of those? Okay, so it looks like I'm out of the other Lance. Okay, no, I got one in there. I got to replenish this because I really like these. And the reason I like them, even though they hurt more, the reason I like them is that I get a consistent drop of blood on it. So, okay, so basically this is a twist off. Let me go to put that back on here. So right here, there is a top, and you twist that off. And when you do that, you'll see right there's a little needle that comes up that's there. And usually you put this in a lancing device, and when you hit the button, it launches it. It's spring-loaded, and it gives you a poke. But I don't use that. I have the lancet, and I've got my finger, and just find a spot on my finger, and let's go right here. Ow, 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 ow. Okay, so that hurts a little bit. But that means that we got, there we go. We got a good drop of blood. So let's go ahead and get that started. So this is the Keto Mojo. And of course, this is the contour. While I do this, what do you think my blood sugar, what do you think my ketones are going to be? And look at that. The Keto Mojo is exactly the same number as the Dexcom. While that's doing, I'm going to go ahead and keep this drop of blood going. And then the contour is 76. And then if I go back here, so 78 was what the Libre says. And so you see, two of them are similar to each other and the other two are different. Let's get this strip in. And get that started. Okay. So once again, what do you think it's going to be? Give me a guess. Give me a guess. And of course, I'm not going to show you what it is right now. We're going to switch over, and then we'll come back to that here in just a little while, and we'll take a look to see what those are. All right? All right. Let me see. Let me hop over here. And so let's see. Jennifer says, well, let me change my screen so we can all see that together. Yeah, let's do this one. Okay. So of course Jennifer said howdy from earlier, and then she says just finished a 48-hour fast, staying keto for the next few days. Okay. So Jennifer's saying she's finished finished the fast, and then she's gonna try to remain in ketosis. She said, darn, sorry I forgot about the community meetup. Sorry, Jennifer. We missed you. But yeah, we've got another one coming up. We've got another one coming up next month, right? So every month we have one. So we did miss you there. So she said she finished the 48-hour fast, and she's going to try to stay in ketosis. And we'll look at ketosis and ketones here in just a minute when we actually look at what my ketones are. But our conversation tonight is going to center around metabolic flexibility. And the question is, what are signs of a healthier metabolism? So as we're going through this space, and we actually talked a little bit about this in our community meetup tonight, because I shared my lab work, I shared my blood work with our folks, and what was? Let's see, do I have that on here? I think I do have it on here. And so my A1C is at 6.4, I think is what it is. 6.4 A1C. And so this was my 3-month, and you'll see across the top there those labs. So A1C going back to when was that? They're going back to February, right? And then what it is now. And so we shared that. And one of the comments I made was that as your body improves, right? As your body improves, you begin to see indications in different areas of metabolic health, so that you're able to, for instance, people who fast, right? Let's use that as an example. People who fast tell me that when they finish fasting, they're able to eat some things that they couldn't eat before, and the blood sugar does not spike as high. Okay, so improvement in their metabolism based on some things that they're doing. So we want to talk a little bit about what are some signs of improved metabolism as we're moving through this space. So by recognizing these signs, you'll gain insight into your progress, right? You'll see that small consistent changes can have huge impact. And sometimes subtle changes mean your body is responding positively. So we're going to jump into that. We're going to talk about it. We're going to go through. We're going to give, I think it's five signs, and then some other conversation that we'll have around that. So this helps you to understand how these things relate to your metabolism, how they relate to your health, and you can celebrate the wins when you recognize this, right? Because these mean that you are on the process, you're in the path, you're in the process of improving your body, and your body is adapting. Okay, so signs of healthy metabolism. And if I had to give a secondary title it would say key indicators of a healthier, adaptable metabolism. Okay. Oh yeah, I was making a point that during our community meetup, there are some labs that we looked at. For instance, my C peptide. And one of the things that happens is when blood sugars are high, when blood sugars are uncontrolled, the C peptide is low. But as you become healthier, and the C peptide is a marker of how much insulin your body is producing. But as you become healthier, the pancreas gets healthier, that C peptide begins rising. And that's the reason why post fasting, you can eat things that you couldn't eat before and not have as big a spike in your blood sugar. Because your body is changing, it's adapting, it's getting better. The metabolism is improving. Okay? So what is metabolic flexibility? So metabolic flexibility is the ability to switch between burning carbs and fats as fuel. When we first started fasting, it took our body a long time to move between carbohydrate and ketones, because it wasn't used to that. But as we fasted, as we've gotten better, then the body switches more easily. So metabolic flexibility helps support stable energy levels. As we've talked about before, when we're relying on sugar or carbohydrates in the body, blood sugars fluctuate, right? So you can feel those fluctuations sometimes. But when we are burning fat, we're burning ketones, we have more stable, it's a cleaner energy source that the body has access to. And so we don't get those fluctuations. And so why is metabolic flexibility, why does it really matter? Because it supports a steady energy flow, right? So we avoid those energy crashes. And those have implications for your appetite. Because when you have energy spikes and energy crashes, guess what you do, right? People tend to eat when they feel that, right? They feel that fluctuation. So metabolic flexibility improves your health resilience. So it helps you adapt to dietary or lifestyle changes more smoothly because your body is able to make the transition. It enables efficient fat burning because it doesn't take as long to get into that process, right? It fosters a lean energy source in the body and fosters a lean, energized body, I guess I should say. Okay? So let's talk about some of the signs. So sign number 1 is reduced hunger and cravings. When your body learns to tap into fat stores, and it can do so readily when you begin fasting, there's less of a need for frequent eating. Right? As the body gets healthier, it's now relying on other sources. So even when we're not fasting, the body is able to utilize the energy that it has efficiently. And because we'll talk about this in a minute, because we're not putting in all those highly processed, refined, high carb foods, right? The body is able to use the food that we have more efficiently. We have stable energy, so fewer energy dips between meals, right? Because the things that we're eating, they will cause fluctuations in blood sugars. And that's why you've heard me talk about balanced bites. And let's see. I'm going to pull that up again. So balanced bites. So every bite counts. Every bite that you eat counts. Now, this is not to put you in a box, but to help you to understand that there are things that you can do in your diet that will set you up for metabolic success. And let me go ahead and pop that up. All right, so this whole idea of balanced bites, that every bite counts, and we started talking about this on our show, right? So you begin seeing this idea, balanced bite, fuel your body with the right things, and when you do that, right, you get less dips in energy between meals because your body has what it needs. Okay. As an example, going back to our slide, as an example, you get less reliance on snacks. You get sustained energy from the meals that you eat because you are now putting in the balanced meals that you need, right? All those balanced bites. As you're eating, each of those bites counts, and what you're putting in helps you in the long term, right? So sign number 1, reduced hunger and reduced cravings. That means that my body is becoming metabolically flexible. Number 2, steady mood and mental clarity. Steady mood and mental clarity. So the body is now using ketones as fuel. So fasting produces ketones. This gives a stable energy source. Have you seen people who've been trying to cut back on food, cut back on carbs, cut back on calories? What are they like? Yeah, they're irritable, right? Because the body is still reaching out to get energy from carbohydrates, but you've cut back on it. So you're irritable. You're annoyed. But with the fasting, when we've adapted, when our body's adapting, it can reach out and it can grab a stable energy source, right? So how do we know that we are more metabolically flexible? We're less hangry and irritable. Blood sugar highs and lows decrease, so we're not getting those fluctuations anymore. We have improved focus. It enhanced cognition and the function that we have during extended periods between meals. So we're not as frustrated. We have mental clarity, and we've talked about mental clarity here in this space before, right? So mental clarity. Sign number 3, we get consistent energy levels throughout the day. Once again, there's a theme there, right? So balanced fuel use. So less need for quick carbs or sugar. One of the reasons that people are having to, drink those energy drinks and the large amounts of coffee and all the other things that we do is that we're not providing a ready, stable source to the body. But when we become metabolically adapted, then the body is able to access that. It's able to use it so we don't have to grab those quick carbs. Because remember, those quick carbs, they cause spikes in blood sugar. Spike in blood sugar causes insulin to come up. And we know already that insulin is an issue, right? We talked about it a little bit more in our community meetup tonight about how insulin causes, and I guess let me talk about that here. One of the disease processes that we've talked about is polycystic ovarian syndrome. And so in women, they have, not just in women, but everyone, their pituitary produces a couple of hormones. One of the hormones they produce is something called follicle-stimulating hormone, and one is called luteinizing hormone. And these are responsible in the female, in the woman, for the menstrual cycles and ovulation, all the things that go along with reproduction. And so as the follicle-stimulating hormone, the luteinizing hormone is rising, then we get the endometrium is building up, and then when it gets high enough, it sloughs off. We get a follicle that gets dislodged, and that is the whole idea of menstruation, right? So that's what's supposed to happen. Because we get fluctuations, right? It's a pulsatile process that goes on in the pituitary. But when our insulin level is high, insulin resistance, where you have hyperinsulinemia, that high insulin level causes those hormones, instead of having that pulsatile manner, it becomes linear. So it doesn't pulse anymore. And remember, we need the pulse for all the things that go on with menstruation and reproduction. So if you're not getting the pulsatile manner, guess what happens? It doesn't happen, or that process does not go through, and so you now become, or you get this idea of polycystic ovarian syndrome, right? So elevated testosterone, or hyperandrogenism, I should say testosterone because there are other androgens, oligomenorrhea, so decreased menstrual cycles, and cyst on the ovaries, polycystic ovarian syndrome, right? All of that comes because of this elevation that we have in insulin, right? Hyperinsulinemia. So when we are eating high carb, high sugar, high all that stuff, right? We're getting this insulin that's coming out, and that hyperinsulinemia is causing other things. Now we talked about PCOS, but there are some things that go on in the male as well. Okay, so when we are metabolically flexible or adapted, we get fewer afternoon energy slumps. The body can rely on fat for reserves. Right? Some people say I hit a wall in the afternoon. That's because energy levels are your fluctuations in your carbohydrates. When we're metabolically adapted, we feel energized even when we're fasting. Yes, right? It's a key sign of metabolic flexibility. All right, and then number 4, improved exercise performance and recovery. So burning fat during exercise, so fat becomes a primary energy source during low intensity activities. So we've talked about the fasting workout, right? In this space, we're talking about low intensity activities, but there is a space where fasting workouts is a thing where people are fasting specifically because they want the boost in their growth hormone, they want to get the ketones that the muscles like, and so they bulk up more and faster because they are doing fasting workouts. And when you're adapted, not only do you have this stable source when you're doing the workouts, but you recover more smoothly, right? So less muscle soreness, quicker energy restoration after the exercise because you're adapted. And then healthy, sustained weight management, right? So this is a big one for a lot of people, right? So it helps maintain a healthy body weight when you're metabolically adapted because your body is able to switch. When the sugar goes away, it's not craving, it's not forcing you to go get sugar, it just switches over and starts burning fat. You say, I know what I can do. I can go over here and I get some fat, and so that helps with the weight management. Fasting preserves lean muscle through growth hormone production. There it is. Right? We just talked about that in the idea of exercising. So when we're fasting, we get growth hormone that maintains muscle mass. So sometimes people are concerned about their muscle mass. Fasting is an amazing way to preserve that and still get the burning of calories that we talk about. Okay? And then improve body composition. So more lean mass and less fat. I love that, right? So the body is adapted and it's flexible. It's able to get over there, burn calories from stable sources. If you eat something, of course, it's going to switch and burn that. And this is one of the things that Jennifer said is she's trying to maintain ketosis. And in that process of maintaining ketosis, she's burning fat. She's burning calories. And the body's using that energy source to function. And like I said, it's a cleaner energy source. Right? So how do we support metabolic flexibility? So all the wonderful things that it does, we've got the signs now to tell us whether we're being flexible. So how do we support flexibility? One, we can add fasting. Now I said they're intermittent fasting, but any of the fastings will help to support metabolic flexibility. For those of you who are starting now, or those of you who have not done long fast, this is your first time into fasting, starting where you are, very important. Start where you are. If you do if you're sleeping for 8 hours, that's your fasting time. Add another 2 hours to it. So now you're not fast. You're fasting for 10 hours, and then when you can do that, add 2 more hours. Now you're 12, and when you can do that, add some more hours. Right. So we're stepping into that space. And then intermittent fasting, of course, 16-8 or 1 meal a day, 5 and 2, all the different fasting methods now come into play because you can do all of those. Okay. Choose whole foods and healthy fats, reduce processed sugar and carbohydrates. What does that sound like, y'all? Right? And we just had that up. That was our balanced bites. That's the balanced bites. Right? Remember, minimize processing, no added sugar, or minimize added sugar, healthy fats, lean protein, starchy, non-starchy vegetables, tasty, appropriate portion sizes. That's the balanced bite. Those are the components. Right? And who've been with us, you recognize that as one of our challenges that we had. Right? To create that meal. But that is one of the key components of things that we'll be talking about as we move into move throughout this space. Okay. All right. Right. So choose whole foods. Choose balanced bites. I'm not even gonna say whole foods anymore. Right. Choose balanced bites. Balanced bites. Stay active. Right. So mix low and high intensity workouts to train energy adaptation. So get out there, move. We've said that you get a bigger bang for your buck when it comes to food in the kitchen, right? So often we can't exercise off the things that we eat in the kitchen, but that doesn't mean that exercising is not beneficial. Get out there, exercise, get your exercise on, as they say, right? You want to do that. You want to incorporate that into your day. So what are some signs then that you need more time to develop flexibility? Number one, constant hunger or cravings. If you're having constant hunger or cravings, there are still some metabolic things that we need to work on. There are still some places that we need to go. There are some thoughts, some behaviors, some ideas, some tools that we need to learn. If you're having energy crashes and brain fog, and you think, well, I got to go eat because, like I had someone that I talked to a while ago who said to me that they can't fast because they get shaky. And so we talked and we came up and we said, hey, wait a minute, we're getting shaky, right? You're anticipating what this is going to be like. But let's get there and let's see. And so she went through and she started fasting. She said, wait a minute, if I don't think I'm going to become shaky, I don't. And so it was a space that she had become accustomed to. Her body had become accustomed to eating. So when she didn't have that food in, then the blood sugar started to drop, as it should, right? But her body sensed that and said, no, we need to bring this back up because it wasn't ready. It hadn't adapted. It hadn't become flexible. But as you do this more often, your body gets used to that, and a lot of those symptoms, headaches, lightheadedness, sweaty, dizzy, all those things go away. Now, let me hasten to say that if you are on medication, then the medication also can cause you to have those symptoms. And so it's important to talk to your healthcare provider. Say, hey, this is my plan. This is what I'm doing. How do we help me so that I'm not having those symptoms? What medications do we need to adjust? Okay, so signs that you know that you still need time. So constant hunger and cravings, energy crashes and brain fog, and then difficulty maintaining a fast. So I can't tell you the number of times that I had started a fast and I got off of it. I started the fast, got off. I started the fast, right? So I kept doing that until I was able to maintain that. But I wasn't ready yet. My body wasn't ready. Right? My emotions weren't ready. Right? I had to change my mindset. Right? So the first time some of you thought about doing a 24-hour fast, you're like, I can't do that. And then you went to a 36 and you said, well, oh man, I can't go to 48. And you've gone to 48. And some of you have gone to 70, 72 and 96-hour fasts. And shout out to a friend of mine who contacted me today to say that he was fasting and completed a 48-hour fast. Kudos to you, man. I'm proud of you. Okay? So metabolic flexibility. And then a closing thought. Right? Closing thought. And this is it. Metabolic flexibility is a gradual process. Each sign you experience is a step towards better health. So this doesn't happen overnight. In fact, as we've learned all the tools, I've said that to you, you will try this 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, maybe 5 times before you finally get it. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It just means that you have to practice. If I take a basketball and put it in your hands and you've never shot a basketball before, guess what? The likelihood of you being able to get it into the rim, get it in the rim through the net is not very good. But the more you practice, the better you become. If you're learning to play an instrument and you sit at the piano or whatever instrument, you sit there 2, 3, 4, 5 times, you don't get it. It's like, wow, this is not working. And so you get up. But it's because you have not been practicing. You're not used to it yet. You got to give it time. Right? So that was my thing. You know, when I was growing up, I told my parents, I fussed so much. I don't want to take piano lessons. And they said, okay. And now I'm like, man, I should have stuck with it. All right. And then embrace the journey. Your body will adjust over time. Keep at it. Keep refining your fasting. Keep refining your eating habits. Keep looking for those balanced bites. You're going to create a meal and it's going to have one of the components. And then the next time you're going to create a meal, it has another component. And then the previous one's going to fall off. But as you become better, as you go on the journey, as you embrace the journey, as you work, as you continue putting the time in, consistency, as you keep being consistent, you will find that your body begins to say, okay, I got this now. But the first time, yeah, this is going to be like, let's not do this. Okay? All right. Let's see. So once again, let me make that plug. Balanced bites. As you're thinking about food, right? And we're getting into an interesting time of the year now, right? As you're thinking about food, think about balanced bites. Balanced bites. Every bite count, and the things that you put in your body, we want it to be balanced, right? Minimize processing, minimize added sugar, tasty. Make sure you have lean protein, healthy fats, some starchy, some non-starchy vegetables, the appropriate portion size. Put those things together. That is your balanced bite. So as you're thinking about food, that's where you want to be. And this is in your non-fasting time, right? Obviously. All right. Let's see. And well, that's what's still up on the screen. Balanced bites. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at my report. All right, and we'll come back. So once again, if you think you know what my ketones are, go ahead and drop that in the chat. Before I get there, let me see. We've got some folks that have dropped in. We want to say hello. Let me use this one. Here we go. So Steve is saying, great job to Jennifer. That's right, Jennifer. And I neglected to give you some music and a hand clap. Yeah, great job. Thank you, Steve. Great job on the 48-hour fasting. And Jennifer saying, hey, Steve. Pam said, I was doing good, but all of a sudden I am constantly hungry. Oh, constantly hungry. So let me hold on to that for a minute, Pamela. I'm going to come back. I want to address something there. Steve said, we all have hunger spells. My spells usually last 3 to 4 hours. Once I fight through that, the hunger goes away. Pamela said, I keep trying, but having a hard time right now. So here it is. Let me, and I made a comment in our community meetup tonight. And let me make that general statement here, because we'll talk more about this as we move through the next several weeks. There is this struggle that goes on in our mind, and it's a battle, right? Just like we have the inner coach that I've talked about and the inner critic, right? There's a battle that's going on between them, right? Hey, you're a bad person. Hey, no, you're a good person. Hey, you're a bad person because you didn't do such and such. Yeah, but look at the things that we did. So there's that constant going back and forth between those two. And one of the things that we are learning to do is we're learning to strengthen the inner coach so that the inner coach overshadows the inner critic, because the inner critic remembers all the stuff. Right? Likewise, there is this food battle that goes on in our mind, right? Think of two combatants, and they're fighting, and the one wants to eat the stuff, and the other saying, "No, I don't want to eat the stuff." One says, "I remember how good it tastes," and the other one says, "Yes, but we shouldn't have any of that." And one says, "Yeah, but it's Thanksgiving. Yeah, it's Christmas. It's birthday." They say, "Yeah, but you can't have it because you're diabetic." And there's this constant fight that's going on. And add on top of that now the emotions that come from the things in our space, whatever the emotions are. Argument with a brother, argument with a spouse, loneliness, tiredness, my back hurts, I'm depressed, I'm down on myself for whatever reason. All of those things now are superimposed on this discussion or this fight that's going on between these two opponents. And I'm going to say for most of us, the person that wins is not the person that says don't eat it. And even if that person wins for a short period of time, eventually the other person wins. And we end up eating the stuff. Right? So you got that scenario so far? So there's a battle going on in our mind. And superimposed on top of that are all the things, all the heat model, the things that are pushing us to eat. And we're struggling between the two. And the more we struggle, the more the cortisol rises. The more the cortisol rises, the more conflict we become. The more friction. Remember we talked about friction in one of our not one of, but several of our talks as we were talking about the COPE model. Reasons why people don't pause. Reasons why people don't get through the process of becoming or putting themselves in the position where they overcome those cravings. Right? There's this friction. There's this struggle that's going on. And so, in any battle, in any war, the person that gets to do whatever they want is the person who wins. So if you're fighting, right? If you're in a war, if you win, then you get to tell the story the way you want to tell the story, and you get to do whatever you want. So when you finally lose the battle over the food, I want to, but I don't want to. I like that, but I shouldn't eat it, right? When you lose that battle, what ends up happening is you end up eating a lot more because you basically, this other person lost the battle, and that was the person who said you shouldn't eat it. So whoever wins, the person that says I should eat it, gets to eat whatever they want, and they end up eating a whole lot because they won. That part of your brain won. So you're chomping and you're going through and you're eating all the stuff. And so what I tell people, one of the ways to begin breaking that cycle is to accept that I'm going to eat this thing. So Pamela, accept that the craving is there. Accept that there is something that you want to eat, that you're going to eat, and you are going to eat it. I'm saying that to you right now. And don't fight the eating. Right? So that's where we sometimes make our mistake, because we're fighting the eating and we are not strong enough to fight the eating. We're going to lose that battle. What I want us to do instead is I want us to figure out, well, why do I want to eat that? What is driving that? What is the thought behind that? What's the emotion behind that? What is the situation behind that? Am I feeling lonely? Am I having doubts? Am I feeling like I'm stuck? Do I feel like I'm alone? Do I feel like I'm not included? Do I feel like this is just me by myself? Do I feel like I'm overwhelmed? There's too much. Whatever the feeling is, let's deal with that. And if we can deal with that, y'all, that craving becomes more manageable. Now, I'm gonna say to you, it's not that it's ever like easy, but it becomes a lot more manageable. But we're not fighting the food. We're not fighting the thing. We're fighting what's driving it. We're figuring out, and not even fighting, we're trying to figure out what's driving it. Because if you can do that, that sets you up for success. I know that was a long way. That's a long way to get to you. Okay. Let's see. Getting back. Let's. I know we're supposed to be looking at my blood sugar, but let's. I see some good conversation going on here. Pamela says I keep trying. Oh, so Jennifer says seasonal issues can cause hunger. It is natural in the fall for some to stock up. Hibernation feelings, right? Due to canning, I took time off and worked on holding my weight steady. Back to fasting now. Love it, right? So make a decision. Okay. And I don't know if I've told you guys my stagecoach example. I'm gonna have to do that. We have to do a whole show on the stagecoach. All right. Somebody remind me at some point to do that. Jennifer says changes in daylight and weather impact me. Yes. So there are seasonal things that go on, right? You guys heard of seasonal affective disorder? Yeah. So some people, because of changes in seasons, their hormones change. Same thing here, right? Seasons are social. They're cues in the brain. Some things get triggered, and all of that gets involved. Pamela said, hadn't thought about the daylight and weather. Pamela said, I keep trying. And Pamela said, okay. Yes. So it is a process, right? And that was actually one of the takeaways that we talked about here in this space, right? So embrace the journey, right? Metabolic flexibility is a gradual process. Fasting is a gradual process. Improving our metabolic disease, our metabolic milieu is a gradual process. So embrace the process. Okay? All right. And then let's now go ahead and hop over and let's take a look at my report. Let's see, where are we? Okay, here we are. And so you'll see there on the screen that my average blood sugar over the last couple weeks has been, this is 14 days. It's 132. Yay. Love it. Tell people I want their average blood sugar to be between 100 and 120, right? I'm in target 92% of the time. 70 to 180 is the target. But as you know, I set my upper limit to 150 because I want to know earlier. I don't want it to get to 180 before I know. My glucose management indicator is a 6.5. And you guys saw my A1C based on the last 30 days. It was 6.4, I think is what it was. Yeah. So if I were to get an A1C based on these numbers, it would approximate a 6.5, 6.5. Okay. Let's go ahead and change to a 90-day view. And my average blood sugar for the last 90 days is 134. So pretty much what it was in the other side. And my glucose management indicator, once again, 6.5. If I look at my daily graph, so I'm a little over 50 plus hours now in my fasting. And so started fasting right in here, let's see, Tuesday. Okay, so started fasting right in here as my blood sugars were coming down. And so 24 hours later, 103. That's 24 hours. And then 48 hours, which is where we were here, 86. Okay, and we'll see what that does as we get further into the fast. So tomorrow will be 72 hours in terms of the fast. All right, so that's where we are. Let's hop over and take a look at my monitor. And let me see, do I have any guesses? Do I have any guesses out there? All right, so we'll pull this over. And let's see how I need to get a view on here where I can see the comments and see my meter and see my phone, my Keto Mojo app. So I gotta create that scene. All right. But for now, we kind of do it the old way, which is where we pop these two up and go ahead and get synced. So Steve says 1.8 is what he thinks my that's what he thinks my ketones are going to be, 1.8. So let's see, Steve. Let's see if you got it. All right. So, oh, you know what? I got to turn it on. If I don't turn it on, it won't sync. All right. So there we go. All right. So there we go. 1.8, 1.8, Steve. Let's see. And 85 blood sugar and 1.3. Okay. So Steve, you 1.8, 1.3. I think the first time we fasted this week, you got it spot on. I think it was 0.6. Right, 0.6, and then yesterday I think I forgot what it was. Oh, actually we can look and see what it was. So yesterday it was 0.5. Okay, and then of course now 1.3. When we talk about ketones, and here is my graph. So the tan line that you see there, those are blood sugars, and then the turquoise dashed line, those are ketones. So as I fasted, the blood sugars have gone down, and the ketones have gone up. Okay. If I go back to last week, you'll see when I started fasting, same thing. At the beginning of the week, as I started eating, blood sugars went up, the tan line, and ketones went down. That's the turquoise line. And then when I broke the fast and when I started fasting, then my blood sugar went down, ketones came up, and then of course coming into this week, as I have started fasting, then the blood sugars have gone down and ketones have gone up to where it is right now, right? So 1.3. When we talk about ketones that are less than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and then above 1.5 considered therapeutic ketosis. So we want to maintain at least a 0.5. So as Jennifer is talking about staying in ketosis, we want a 0.5 or higher, right? So ketogenic, we want a ketosis process. Someone asked me recently about using ketone strips. And as I mentioned before, I like all of the methods of checking ketones. The strips tend to delay because it takes a while for the urine to show that you have ketones, and then once you have ketones, it takes a while for them to go away. So I think for me the finger stick that we're doing right here is a much more accurate, faster responding. But you have the breathalyzer as well, and then you have the urine strip. So all of those are methods of doing checking ketones. Awesome. All right. Well, as always, I'm excited to have been in this space with you. I love the fact that we can come on. I love the conversation that we had tonight. Keep coming through. When you are here, I want to remind you that you have unlimited potential. Your ability to craft, to change, to make, to chart the destiny of your health is unlimited. You're going to start seeing this with the infinity sign with it, right? Because it's infinite. You can make changes now that will chart the course of your future. Remember that when you are here, we educate, we empower, and we encourage, right? That's the Triple E formula for success. We educate with the shows, with the blogs, with the podcasts. We empower with the tools that we learn, right? All of those challenges that we're doing, and we encourage with the community that you are building, that you are a part of. When you are here, one of the things that you hear us talk about is the HEAT model, the things that push us in a direction to get off of our meal plan, the things that trigger us, the food triggers, habits, emotions, access, and taste. We'll continue talking about that because we came up with the COPE model specifically to deal with this particular thing, with this particular model, right? So now that we know what they are, how do we deal with it? And the COPE model, we will begin seeing some of that more as we go throughout the course of our journey. When you come, make sure you join the challenges, right? Don't just let them be on the shelf. Get in there, jump in. They are your ability. They are your tool for practicing the things that we're learning. things that are on paper, things that are on the video are just that, on paper and video. It comes to life when you take action, and taking action is with the challenges. Also, when you're here, tell your story. Tell us what's going on. Share your successes and have us help you along when you're having challenges. And then invite someone with you. Invite a friend, a family member. There are over 1 billion people on the planet with diabetes or pre-diabetes. You can be a voice for change, a voice to help know that you can make a difference in your space. It doesn't just work for diabetes, right? Make sure that you know that. Polycystic ovarian syndrome, as I mentioned before, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, metabolic syndrome, and on and on and on and on. We will see you as we move through our check-ins for the rest of this week. And then, of course, on Saturday night at 9 p.m. Central will be Video from the Vault. And then Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central will be This Week in Review. And then back in the saddle on Monday night at 7 p.m. Central for Dwain Woode, MD Live. We'll be doing our check-in tomorrow where we do our extended review of fasting. You want to make sure that you join us for that as we are continuing to support each other. All right? All right. Well, thank you for being here. As I always say, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new you. We'll see you at our next show. Good night.